Hi, this is Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV, News 44, Opinion versus Opinion. And I'm here today with Jonathan Charney, John Manajasic, and Rob Charney. That's me. And happy Halloween! It's coming up, and we got the Halloween theme behind me and my big bright orange tie. And boy, I feel really Halloween-y, don't you? I'll tell you.
I have glowing blue things
That's
in my
right.
ears.
He's glowing, and one of the things that when I sent out the ghoulish email that I sent out to everybody, I thought it looked pretty nice. One of the things I wanted to talk about is internet taxes, and I had made the statement that it's being brought up by Republicans. Now, I have a hard time visualizing this happening on this side of the fence.
Why?
But, well, why? Because generally, the conservative people tend to be anti-tax. If you want to go as far as the Tea Party's really anti-tax.
Well, it's only anti-tax when it inconveniences them. Otherwise, they're pro-taxes.
Snide, whatever. It's pointless. Let's get back to this. Let's talk about something right now. We're trying to get out of a recession, are we not? We all agree to that, right? We're trying to create jobs, are we not? We're trying to keep jobs within our own country, are we not?
I would think all of that would be true.
Yes. So, with that all being true, what the hell are we talking about taxing the internet for?
But the only problem with it is when you come from the libertarian point of view and some of the other more outside or fringe points of view, this issue of a flat tax, an ad valorem tax, which they always talk about replacing said income tax with, right? But the issue of it is that we have used the ad valorem, value added tax, so many times. I mean, your local state sales tax is a flat tax ad valorem, which the percentage of keeps growing because they need money.
Right.
Everybody, and I said this to Rob, and he'll poo-poo this on the air because I said it to him on the phone. Oftentimes, when conservatives ask for government that runs more like business, you get them wanting to tax the internet.
Yeah.
See, because in theory, and we would all agree that we have gone far astray from the theory, government should work for the people, should understand the people and be responsive to the people. We have put government in such a position that it needs money for so many reasons, whether it be your city, whether your school district, whether it's because government starts on the local level. Everybody needs money.
Yeah.
So somewhere and I use this with the least amount of respect that I can, in the MBA world, where it is, screw them. They should pay for that. Oh, and by the way, we shouldn't pay them as much money. But they need to pay for that. Things that used to come as a benefit. I mean, just to give you an example, I mean, if I was to work at a Title I school for 5 years, they would forgive my student loan. But in talking to them about it, they said, oh, and you'll get 1099 for the amount of the loan.
Right.
So what's
to be taxed on
that? That to be a benefit to me.
What's a Title I school? I mean, if you're going to mention that.
Title I school is a underprivileged school where you have breakfast and lunch. It's a under stress school.
Oh, okay. So it's is that from the No Child Left Behind, or was before that?
Way long before that.
Way well before that. Hey guys, all of you out there watching us, make sure you go to our live site, and there's this thing called Social Stream. Type in your questions, yell at us, do whatever you'd like to do. We'd like to add to that and add to what we do here besides calling in the phone, which the number is behind me, and it's 530-621-1210. And hit the social stream, type in something, and then let's see how that goes. So I have always felt about taxes.
Just remember, Rob's the only one that can see this social network stream, so I'm only going to believe half the things he says about me.
Well, we're hoping to get our other producer in here. We were hoping today, but it didn't work out with her to come in and try to push the social string and kind of keep us straight. But so I'm watching it. I don't even know if it works, but we'll see because we haven't used it since the election coverage that you and I and Jonathan did. And
it is a live streaming option that I find it, because when you do motorsports, everybody's an expert and a commentator.
Right. Right.
and they visit along with one another. But I mean, on the big shoe, even not on the big shoe, boy, lots and lots of people making comments. And, I'm doing it. I believe in live streaming. I actually believe this is the media of the new millennium. Kind of scary to look at. But when you talk to cable providers, et cetera, they're niche, but packaged media. Nobody wants that. I want what I want when I want it.
Sure. I look hard.
And provide it to me.
Yeah.
Therefore, and they're competing with us because it's the product that's available. As to internet taxes,
back to the
the margin for retailers is high enough. I mean, Amazon's making fine money, and it's coming back. See, what we never see is, or maybe it doesn't happen, but it's coming back through because people have jobs, they're making a living, they're buying things, they're paying sales taxes, they're paying all these ad valorem taxes that got there before we tried to put one on internet purchases.
So my question has been, we're already, for instance, Amazon, I buy probably the vast majority of goods that I buy now is Amazon.
Because of where you live, why not just have it brought to your door?
Exactly. I mean, it's not convenient for me to, to go to a big box store or whatever. It just comes delivered, and I'm a Prime customer. Most of the time, it's the next day. How much faster do I really need it? But the tax situation is interesting because, Amazon fought it for quite a while. And what the state of California came back and said, as long as you have some form of brick and mortar within our state, you must collect taxes for the state. Well, Amazon, of course, has a huge distribution facility, a number of them in California. They couldn't really say, no, I'm not here. So they did roll over, and when we're now paying sales taxes when we weren't before, which took a little bit of the luster off of buying from Amazon for me.
Well, that was one of the reasons they never made a huge profit in the early 90s is they were turning around and spending all their profit on hard distribution centers and other means of fast transportation of products.
And now they're taking advantage of it like crazy. God bless Amazon.com.
Well, but at the same time, whenever something modifies like that, and I'll suggest to you guys, because you go back to the old and crusty days with me and eBay.
Yeah.
I mean, eBay used to be a fabulous place for people to do business with goods, services, and whatever. And now, I mean, I love it. The last time I dealt with eBay, PayPal gets their money right off the top before anybody else. That gets taken out.
Right.
All right, if you notice.
Well, sure.
And then that they were going to hold it for 2 weeks for the other guy, and I'm going, I'll never do this again.
Yeah, you're right. I used to use eBay all the time, like I'm now using Amazon. I don't go to eBay very, very often anymore. If I do,
you get just about the same thing both places.
Yeah.
Well, the thing really about eBay is it really depends.
At your level, you pay no shipping.
Well, the thing about eBay is it really depends on what you want. If you want a hard product that you can buy anywhere, Amazon's the way to go. But if you're looking for a product with limited release, say a DVD, for example, that only had one pressing and they only pressed, say, 100,000 copies, you can find it on there where finding it on Amazon would be nearly impossible.
Jonathan,
so
you're absolutely right.
It's good for
eBay
limited
has its
things.
niche. You're right, Jonathan. eBay has its niche that is fantastic for oddities, things that are,
But the way of doing business has become so cumbersome.
Well, it didn't have to
and
be.
so
and
expensive.
And this whole PayPal thing, I've never had, you described that to me before. I've never had that issue of holding money, except for one time when I bought a very expensive multi-$1,000 item, and we did it through an escrow.
Right,
Okay.
which I would do as well. But this was in the case of an $850 trombone.
Ugh, that's nothing.
And they wanted to hold the money, and I said, "Look, I've been with you for 13 years. I have nothing but outstanding feedback from everybody I've done business with, whether a buyer or a seller, and now you're telling me I'm a thief, and what I sent this guy is no effing good."
Right.
Far from it.
My favorite story revolving this is this person on eBay bought a rare, apparently it was a rare violin worth a couple of $1,000s.
Right.
And eBay said it was fake, and the person destroyed it. The person who bought it just ended up destroying it. The person who sold it didn't get their money out, and basically a rare instrument was destroyed because eBay said it was fake.
Well, if eBay told me that, the Henri Selmer trombone I just bought was fake, I'd tell them to, spend 50 years playing these instruments, and I'll tell you if it is or isn't.
Right.
I would certainly go to someone that would know before I destroyed something.
Right.
I would definitely go to somebody other than eBay to be look at our friends on Pawn Stars. They resolutely stay on the History Channel because they provide a service of, I got one of those at home. Hey, mine looks like that. And the guy said it's an old thing. Or the fact that, they have changed almost all of their experts except the guy from the
Clark County Museum.
Clark County Museum, because he's a real guy and he won't give a value. He just will say that it is or it isn't, or it's all here, it's all not here.
Right.
But I don't know. I agree with Rob. At least in the short run, and since we seem to be doing everything else in this country on the short run, why the hell not this?
The only thing...
they're bringing this up. Number one, I am not going to shop anything for Christmas until it is December. This year, Thanksgiving will be the 28th, and I really encourage folks, screw Black Friday. It's because they want all the money up front. It's not the best values. They're just fomenting you into a seething crowd looking for a deal. Before you go to the mall, look around, see what your local shopkeeper. Maybe pay a little bit more, but support your community. And while you're at it, send us $5 for Christmas.
That's right.
The only thing I worry about internet tax is the same thing I worry about any tax: is the government deciding that, we're not making enough money. Let's raise it a little bit, like they want to do with the gas tax thing. That's the only thing I'm worried about. But I think that's what I have about any tax.
All right, we have another definition that I want to say. When we talk about internet taxes, so far we've talked about taxes on goods. Mm-hmm. Now, are we going to see taxes on connectivity?
Intellectual product.
Connectivity. Just the ability, a utility tax.
Oh, sure.
All right. Is that what we're looking at?
But here's the thing. If it was a utility tax, the thing about that is I think they'd have to say, what is it going towards? I think the government's saying, or it's going towards digital bits.
Oh, yeah.
I think...
Like PG&E tells the government.
Well,
you would have to convince
Go ahead, John. Shout it in there.
Well, before you guys cut me off, I think the problem with saying that we're charging you per bit... I think the problem is you can't say what is it towards. For far as people would say, okay, if you're charging a utility bit, I have to see a legitimate enhancement of my service. Versus, okay, they're putting in digital, putting in fiber, they're making it faster. I think people would pay for that if their access got better.
Well,
and it was carte blanche access.
They pay a provider for that. Why not? Unless the government can substantially prove to me that they're providing a larger conduit that then enables me to have lightning fast internet, then I ain't paying for it. Show me it. It's like years ago when I bought media, and they go, well, the rate's gone up 15%.
There's a danger, I think, right now, depending on which way you look with private companies, is one is they want to charge access. For example, if you wanted to go to Google in your ISP, they could charge you extra because you want to access Google. So they could make it tiered internet. That's something right now that people are a little afraid of. And the other thing is the fact that Comcast and a lot of these other companies won't put internet access out to rural areas. There's still areas in El Dorado County, for example, that are on dial-up versus if it was a government-run so-called utility, that they might extend internet to a rural area.
You know what? I'd spend more time being paranoid about your guns than that. I really would. But you're right. From the standpoint of, they are trying to, it is and I started to say this, the MBA mentality that we now have in a quote-unquote capitalist, but not capitalist as Adam Smith designed capitalism, market that we deal in, that they will find any way to snipe in, take a fee. I mean, you know, I pay some stupid $3 something on my cellular bill, and it's like, I forget what they call it, but it's basically, hey, we can take you for $3.99 every month because somebody authorized it as a tax or a fee.
Unfortunately,
And a fee that they love to hide the word tax, right? They don't want to say tax. They say, "Oh, it's just a fee." It's a friggin' tax, folks.
It is purely nomenclature. It's money out of my pocket to them to do whatever they want to do to me, not for me.
Right.
Because the current experience is it's not there are not agents working on your behalf or for your betterment. You pay money for them to do more constrictive and more expensive things to you.
Yeah. I would say far as the internet level of access, that's actually something that I would worry about, because a lot of these ISPs want to be able to charge a little extra, just like Comcast has a bandwidth cap and they charge you for going over it. So that is something that we should worry about, because countries like Australia have bandwidth caps, and it's a low bandwidth caps from some things I've read. Comcast here has 250 gigabytes, which right now is low, but in the future, when you're getting 4K movies, Bluetooth 19 by 20,
you'll blow through
19
that cap
by
in no
1080
time,
resolution
right,
videos.
right.
You'll blow through that cap in a couple of movies. So that is something that needs to be worried about, unfortunately.
Well, but the problem of it is you need to worry, and I agree. We should worry about that, because you now on PayPal have a limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really? A limit of what?
A limit of how much you can do. Just like if I pay for my vitamins, or I PayPal $100 to you for some stupid reason,
right?
And that so much money a month can go through your account, and then they start charging you.
Well, it depends on the account. We have an account for this show and for the firearms training portion company and all that. And I've had some nice conversations with those fine people over there at PayPal. And actually, it's not bad at all. The first thing that happened, which was really interesting, until when we started getting more money flowing through that account, they said, "Well, I'm sorry, you can only withdraw $500 a month." And I went, "Hold on here. Let's step back. What do you mean?" Well, it turned out to be a verification situation that I had to go through. I had to verify that the bank account still exists. I had to verify a PIN that had to be correct. I had to go through all this stuff. And then they graciously gave me, okay, you can withdraw all of your money.
Well, it's like that for YouTube and other things then. They want to make sure that you are you. On the other hand...
and how much is it going to cost you?
Yeah, right.
On the other
what
hand,
tax for that?
On the other hand, PayPal though limits. If you're, for example, if you're a gun company, there's a chance they're going to not like you. If you do porn, they're not going to like you. There's a bunch of industries that they say, we're not too fond of you, so go away. So I think that's one thing about PayPal, is if you look anywhere suspicious, they don't like you. You're screwed.
Well, let me tell you. Let me give an example. One of the things they don't like, and we don't do it at an unnamed gun club, is that we have a couple of fundraisers every year, and in which case we allow people to maybe purchase raffle tickets, things like that, by using their credit card. And I got a call after a fundraiser not too long ago from PayPal, and they went, "Hey, were you selling raffle tickets?" And I said, "Us? No, we wouldn't do that." And they said, "Okay, well, we were just checking on you," and went away. So there you have it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The IRS might want to know if you were selling raffle tickets or was giving value for consideration to someone.
Yeah.
But what business is it of PayPal's?
They're basically anti-gun. The corporate head people have taken a stance that they're not really neutral on gun stuff. It's just like, if you go buy. They're doing it because they know they make money, so they're not stupid. But at the same time, they're not making it easy.
It also
I know is that PayPal and eBay say, "Oh no, we're not connected. No, we're not connected." We're two different companies, because when I had my brouhaha with them, I spoke to them both.
Right.
But at the same time, it amazed me once, because one of meager income at the moment notices when something comes out of one's bank account because you're cutting it close.
Right.
And I didn't have to pay eBay since I was involved with eBay and with PayPal. They, at the time of the invoice, just took the money out of my bank account. I didn't have any choice in the matter.
Right. Right.
And I asked them, would you have overdrawn me if the money wasn't there? Because now, and these are other things that you should be worried about on Jonathan's list of being worried about. That Bank of America, and you probably never had this situation, but occasionally an automatic payment or something, I would overdraw. And if you could cover it within a day's time, you didn't get a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
See,
now they want to stop that and make sure that you are penalized for doing that.
Right.
I hate Bank of America with a passion of 1,000 burning
but you have
suns.
a
They
reason
can burn
to.
in hell for all I care.
That they took your home away from you, so I understand why you're upset about.
No. See, it's more than that. It's the fact that I went and asked, and they basically said, "Screw you." No, I Bank of America can go out of business for all I give a crap.
But anyway.
Wow.
But PayPal, I use PayPal any opportunity I have to buy online now for two reasons. I try to use PayPal. One, because it does have some of the best security out there, and I don't have to punch in a credit card number when it's tied. I just go PayPal, bing, and then PayPal's tied to my checking account so that if I don't have enough money sitting in the PayPal account, it automatically just takes it out of my checking account, and I don't have an overdraft problem.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if that's hacked and they drain your banking account.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah.
I have been an online bill payer for a very long time, since like day one when they said, "Hey, you can pay us online." I'm down with that.
Right.
But I never, and I'll give you an example. I was in Los Angeles. It was Thanksgiving last year, and I went to a Trader Joe's, and there were women out front soliciting a donation to Planned Parenthood. They gave me their spiel, and I said, "Here," and I don't have a lot of money, but I said, "Here's $20," because where I live, I would never be solicited by Planned Parenthood because you wouldn't be able to stand outside the store.
Right.
The community itself is just not down with abortion on any form. But their close for me was, "Can you give us a credit card and an ATM and we'll take out $10 a month?" And I went, "No." Yeah. And there were some people my age, contemporary, a little older, and they gave them cash as well.
Yeah.
And said no. Now, my friend whose home I was staying at, who's an accountant, who's a CPA, I do it all the time.
He's nuts.
And I'm going, I just don't know that I'm okay with that whole deal. I don't want to give access to anyone. And like in the case of XM Radio, you have to.
Right.
To do it on a debit. But the thing, I'm not willing to give anybody, I'll pay you. Okay, and I'll pay you on time. And then again, I might not pay you on time because it doesn't suit my cash flow, and I'll pay the ensuing penalty for not paying you on time. But that's a choice. It's my money.
Right.
See,
I would like to have a choice with my money of when I spend it.
I don't have a problem with giving my number, my credit card or ATM debit card number to like a business like XM Radio. I do, however, have a problem with some yokel on the side of a street saying, "I represent insert company here," and they have a Cube card reader or Square card reader. I don't trust people like that. That's insanity. Matter of fact,
the problem that there is that we are unfortunately trying to, they would say, eliminate the black market. Also, where we started on this deal, with taxing the internet. Okay, they want to get a piece of every transaction wherever it is made.
Right.
And you can't tax. Let's go back 50 years. Buying a lid for the $10 bill from the guy down the street, right? That whole thing was at one point it was California's largest cash crop. But see, there was this business outside of their frame and where they couldn't get their hands on the money. And that's what makes them nuts.
Well, this is why they have Bitcoin and other things. I mean, even when they busted Silk Road, they didn't find all the money. They found a certain amount of money in a note that said tough luck. So it's the government's going to try to do something. Somebody's going another way. It's a zero-sum game for the government.
So everybody's trying to grab a piece of the pie, and back to the tax on the internet. It's like when they go tax, when anybody just says tax, and then we don't get a definition of what they're talking about, because I could not, for the life of me, find out exactly what they meant by a tax. Is it a tax like our taxes, like John, you mentioned on your cell phone? Is it an added tax that you're going to have to pay? Are you going to force the ISPs to add something for some reason? What are we talking about here?
It sounds to me not like a sales tax, but
right.
a usage tax.
Well, yeah, like I said, a connectivity
so it's
tax,
like that new gas thing they want to do. Well, they want to charge you per mile.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
The reverse, we have to report our odometer to them, and we pay our registration based on number of miles we actually drove on the road.
We have heard that as a possibility.
There's a new thing. They're doing some test runs, and what they do basically, they install some sort of chip in your car. It tracks your mileage, and then you get a usage fee based on how many miles. And
I thought this guy, Geico's been advertising that, and remember that Geico is the government employees insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
All right, with that safe drive. Oh, you're just plugging it in your car, and I'm going, I am not going to share my driving information with effing nobody.
Right.
The only way I would
The old guy, my car is MySpace.
There'll
My
be
house may not be, but my car is, damn
Yeah,
it.
well, but Jonathan's right. There may be a time that every car manufactured, it will not be removable. It will be,
Well, look what's happening already.
it's going to have Wi-Fi in it. It's going to report every night. And
well, look what already happens after so many. I forgot what actually year, 2000 something. There's a black box required in all cars. It really wouldn't take that much to add.
No, it wouldn't. You're
No,
right.
It wouldn't
it's
add.
already
To
there.
add.
I'm sure it's already there.
Yeah.
It's like the kid that with a brand
You're right,
new
Jonathan.
bad-ass Mustang, $75,000 worth of Roush, go fast, come out to the drag strip and pump this thing into the wall at about 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
They hadn't even made a payment on it yet. Okay?
Yeah.
It was his dad's car.
Oh man.
He tells the tow truck driver, put it out on the street. We all looked at him and said, son, they know exactly where the car was when it crashed. You're putting yourself deeper into it by defrauding the insurance company.
That's right. That's right.
What I'm waiting for is, some guy has a track day car, so it's his daily driver plus a track day car, and say it's a 13-second car at 100 miles an hour. I'm waiting for him to get a huge ticket from the government saying, "Oh, you were speeding, so here's your ticket for going 100 plus. By the way, please report to your local courthouse because you also that was a felony."
Now, if we were to be really paranoid, Jonathan, you've got it. You absolutely have it right. The car reports every night. It reports if you go over 65 miles an hour, you get to 66 miles an hour. Bing! The light goes off, sends a message to the government.
That's already on cross-country trucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, see,
yes. But that's cross-country trucks. But now we want to put it in on our daily drivers.
And it wouldn't. What you would do is you would have each road list the speed limit, and you go a mile over that, then then it flags. But what you'd have to do is, since civilian GPS isn't actually that accurate via design, you'd have a little bit of slush built into it. You go over that slush, boom, instant ticket.
The whole idea is
we
it's
already have cars that you pay a lot of money to have them put the brakes on for you.
Yes.
They are selling us that you don't want to and you don't need to do it. When you talk about the we can do it for you government, isn't it frightening when Mercedes-Benz, GM, Honda, VW, and everybody else has got a system, they'll sense 2 cars ahead of you and put the brakes on for you.
Yes.
I don't buy a car, I don't drive a car to have the effing car put the brakes on for me.
The only
Well,
thing
it's
I
no
like
different
is
than
the
OnStar.
Crash.
the only thing I
That's
like
part of
is
the deal.
the only thing I like is the parallel parking, because even after 20 years of driving, I still can't do that with
Well,
crap.
all right. So you got one thing out of it, but it's so much intrusiveness into our
How much
lives.
freedom are you willing to give up for security?
Exactly.
So I have-
I mean, all these people that have
Automated system
OnStar,
to be
right?
infallible. Can I talk to you about the ACA computer? If you're going to give it to a computer system and figure it's going to be infallible,
Yeah, right.
Well, the problem with
you
that
still won't be able to parallel park when that breaks, and you find out it'll cost you $3,500 to fix it.
Well, the problem with the Obamacare computer system is the fact is I don't think they did it right. Like, most companies spend 6 months to a year testing it, they watch it, and I think in typical government fashion, and by the way, this isn't a crack on Obama, this is a crack on any government period, is,
Because I got a crack on Obama when you're done.
well, it's because what ended up happening is they, like government fashion, they had the least qualified people do it for the least amount of money, and they didn't test it. They didn't do anything. And then when people can't get Obamacare for January 1st on time, then you have the government officials saying, well, we're not going to extend the deadline because it's fine. Then you say, then you're screwing people even more.
Well, I don't know as to screwing the thing I found most specious about that, and it's a double-edged sword. I mean, because if you've been listening to the hearings today, the Republicans have just been raining down on Sebelius, and she's been a good soldier. The issue of it is that I find the most objectable, and I do not know to be true, but I saw in passing while reading things about it, is that the woman that owns CGI, or is the CEO of CGI, is a sorority sister.
Yeah, I
with
heard
the First
this.
Lady.
Yeah, I heard about this.
And if that be true, then it's no different than it's ever been, but it certainly underscores your Chicago politician theory about the president. When you're that vulnerable, you try to be more transparent and keep things away from being that close to you.
I just love
I have a
nepotism.
question. Who's the lady that's supposed to be in charge of the Obamacare computer system?
That's the woman, Sebelius.
Is that how you say it?
No, Sebelius is the secretary of HHW, or Health and Human Resources.
Because
Oh, that's right. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius.
Because I actually don't have a problem with the Republicans complaining and yelling about her, because in my opinion, if she's supposed to watch this whole thing, I think she kind of dropped the ball. I think this is a pretty big.
My
as
guess
a
is you're
geek,
right.
as a geek, this is not a screw up. This is a foobar on the highest level. This is a geek. You don't know what you're doing.
Let me say to you, Microsoft Vista.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or even OS 7 is glitched. And these are major software operating systems that come from the leading elite, and they come glitched.
You want to know what the difference between this?
The thing that I object to the most, and I need to do the research, is that if it is that close to the White House, that they let somebody incompetent drive, and we got that result. You can only, you can't say no pork barrel, you can't say no favoritism, and then give the contract to somebody, because from what I understand, these people had never done or written software on this level before.
I will say the difference between the ACA website, or whatever it's called, and Windows Vista is you bought Vista with a new computer. You don't all of a sudden, boom, get it. Like, this is, you don't have a choice. Here it is, no options, no others. Because if I didn't want Windows Vista, I could have gone to...
What was the op system before Vista?
It was XP.
Hey, we have an incoming caller.
We have a call.
Woohoo!
Come on, I had to pay a
Hi,
premium
you're
to
on
keep
with
that
Rob.
fee and not get Vista.
Jonathan
Hey guys,
and John. Who's
it's,
calling?
Dan. How are you?
Good. Dan?
So, did you guys happen to see the report? I know it's a little bits and pieces on the news from Capitol Hill. It's a woman, what was her name? Tavanna or something like that. They were interviewing her. Did you happen to get a chance to see that yesterday about the the whole website debacle, and I guess she's the spokesperson for that
She
company.
was before the
CGI
committee.
Company.
Huh, yeah.
She's just CEO
I didn't see it,
of
so.
CGI.
Yeah, and so they asked her, so what's the problem? She reported back to them. This is what kills me. Well, and her exact comment back, which it boggles my mind, it says, it's now working, just not at the speed we want. So it's like saying, yeah, your car, you go to your mechanic, pick up your car, yeah, it's working. It can only go 5 miles an hour. We know you need to do 65 in the freeway, but, it's working. And it's just mind-boggling that they could respond in that way. And then
I just don't see why you find that mind-boggling. I hear that kind of an answer every day from people. Well, it's working.
Well, it's because
It's not working well enough.
Yeah, and then when they asked her, well, give us the data, how many people have enrolled in Obamacare?
Right.
And she stated back to them, we don't know. It'll take us about 2 weeks to get that data. You guys know as well as I do, she's completely lying. The easiest, most basic computer, even in the DOS days or MUMPS days, or even the days of subassembly language, even if we want to go back to that far, the most easiest thing it could do is spit out a data of a number of how many people entered that database and put something in.
You usually figure there's going to be a counter in the very base of that. I heard that as well. I mean, I was listening yesterday to the hearings, and they kept after her, and she said November the 1st, November the 1st, November the 1st.
Yeah.
How do you at this level,
there are a lot of issues to it. Of course, I'm of the ilk that it's not and God, we could really go for it. It's Dan, right?
Yeah.
On the whole level of the ACA, certainly everybody's embarrassed, but yeah, a lot of it doesn't make any sense, and I'm waiting to see what's going to happen by November 1. I'm not happy with the way the rollout's gone. It certainly wasn't to the benefit of people that actually need and want to get to the website and find out how much it's going to cost them.
the reason why I think this is a disaster is because you don't have any options. This is what you get. You have no choice. Versus if I was a Windows guy and I didn't like Windows, I could go to Ubuntu, Linux, Red Hat, OS 10. You have choices. This is a government saying, here, you have to do this. This is why this pisses me off the most. Is this is unacceptable. This is a disaster.
John, it's no more of a disaster than the state of California spending I think it was between $24 and $40 million for a new CHP computer system that after 7 years of screwing with it, they said, oh,
never
hell,
worked.
it doesn't
DMV.
work.
Yeah.
Well,
It
DMV.
never ended up working, yeah.
I completely agree. The reason why I say this is the entire country. This is
Right.
not just the state of California. This is every single person in the United States. This is them saying, oops, it's not working.
So,
My bad.
Let me
Well,
guess.
and I think on top of John's statement right there is the biggest problem. Okay, it's not bad enough that they made a horrible website decision. You would think at the powers that be, especially now that they're calling Obamacare, and you would think Obama would want this thing to work, to guarantee this thing to work.
Believe me, he does.
Let's talk to the
I have
folks
no
that
doubt
actually
he does.
deal with millions and millions of hits a day, like talk to the guys at Google,
Yes.
Facebook, Yahoo, whoever, and get this done right to begin with. But even beyond that, the worst thing is all these poor people that Obama swore up and down that you can keep your original plan. You do not need to go with our plan. You can
Right.
keep your original.
Right.
But because the Obamacare plan mandated that every payer must follow the minimum guidelines of obstetrics, other pediatrics. So if I'm 60, 70 years old, I still have to pay double, triple the premiums that I used to because it's got to cover obstetrics and pediatrics and
Services that you would never take.
Whoa.
to help
I
pay
got
for
to
other
pay
folks'
3 to 4.
care.
I'm paying for somebody else.
Yeah.
But before you get on that rant, number one, tell me where it says that, where it's 2 or 3 times. I mean, I want the rubric to see how much you actually pay.
Well, I actually, sorry,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know people personally that their rates went up from $200 to $800. I mean, so I know people whose rates skyrocketed.
I have not been in because I've heard everybody, so I don't go in yet. And I have issues right now of why I'm not going to be able to pay the premium that I want to pay. Okay? The issue that you're talking about, and having been an insurance agent, I will take this point. There's a lot of bullshit insurance that people bought that people got sold, where you give me $20 a month and it's still $120 out of their pocket, or it's $40 a month, or somebody has a pre-X and they convince them that this will cover it. And right now, and I'm not happy that the administration said, no, you'll be able to keep your old plan. But what they did is they set a minimum standard so people aren't paying for things that won't do them any good. Okay? So some of these policies, I mean, I got into it with a guy, a friend of mine, who said he was paying $94 a month for health insurance. And he's exactly the same age as me. And he has a pre-existing condition that would prohibit him from purchasing any health insurance. So I said to him, mate, when I was selling insurance, you wouldn't have paid $94 a month for health insurance that didn't have a $10,000 deductible or a huge copay or a lifetime limit or an elimination of certain diseases and conditions. My problem is, and we talked about this, Dan, a couple of weeks ago on the show, and I certainly have nothing to say in defense of the debacle with the website. It's stupid. It certainly doesn't serve anybody's positive purpose because it feeds the negative side, and it takes the people that are trying to do it, they got egg all over the face and they look stupid. And I'll be the first one to say, damn, they should have done a better job. Now, Jonathan's response, I said, but major producers have had glitches right off the bat.
But not like this.
And Jonathan, I had to look hard and pay extra to get a computer that had XP on it and not Vista.
Well, the difference, I'll be honest, as a geek, as a big geek, the difference between this and Obamacare is you could have had your old computer. You have options. You have selectability of different things. You could have bought a Mac. You could have gotten Ubuntu, Linux, Red Hat.
I understand that, but that's in the open marketplace. This is an open marketplace that's never been used before.
I'm gonna interject here as being the only person that I know of in this audience right now that actually ran an ISP and was actually in the early years of internet connectivity and how that works. And let me tell you something about this. And I can see this happening because I saw this happening when I was working out of the Pentagon, and we were working on security products. The problem is that it's the top down. So what happens is who's ever the top tells the next person below him, okay, we need to get X, Y, and Z done. And then it keeps going down, down, down until you get to the guys that are actually building the product, okay? The guys that are building the product are coming back to their supervisors and saying, hey, we don't think this is ready. This is not going to work. We have an issue here. We have a security hole there, and their supervisor says, do it, I don't care, you can make it work. And then he reports to his supervisors, oh, we're on schedule, everything's fine, everything's working great, don't worry about it. And it goes up the chain. The fact is they didn't do a hard test of this product to know if it was going to work or not. They did absolutely no testing. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to understand that there was a major failure in this company as how they handled the building of this product and making it available for everybody. And
the way I understand it, and it was all subcontractors, as you know, because this company's not that big.
Right.
That the modules all tested to work fine, but they never tested the modules together as a system to work fine.
That's right. They also never did a hard test. And then the other issue, of course, is that what we're finding now is as they're doing repairs, as they're going along, they're creating holes for security that should not be there. In other words, they're allowing hackers to find some major holes finding their way in. There is nothing more important than keeping private your medical history, your social security numbers, and all the information that goes with it. That's as important as it gets.
Yeah, but that information isn't asked for until you actually sign up with the program.
That doesn't matter, John. The fact is the data's there. And if there are holes, if there's security breaches available into those modules, we've got a problem.
Yeah, and that was there's a guy by the name of John McAfee, and I know he's not the most well liked in the geek community as far as I know. The difference is how is it encrypted? Is it salted? Is it hashed? There's a huge way to do it, and the problem with it is, even if you go into that back end, if it's not, you're giving people major information, and so that's the issue.
Well, okay, so we got a government program that we all have to sign up on, giving our social security numbers, our date of birth, our driver's license number, and all that information. And are you going to tell me that NSA doesn't have a direct pipeline into that?
They do.
Do you think that NSA doesn't have that information already?
They made it easier for them, didn't they? I
don't
don't
know if it made it easier for them or not. I just don't know how a health program could not. Well, I do. I was with Kaiser here, and I got in a hellacious. I almost got killed in an auto accident. And during the process of getting me a primary physician, which they told me to wait 2 weeks, I also said, well, wouldn't you like the 14 years of medical records from Northern California? Nah.
They didn't care.
Didn't want them.
Dan, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add in?
No, I think you guys are hitting it right on the head. And I think the other bigger problem is with the actual website debacle is, like you said, they didn't have these programs in place that was done right. But this isn't something new. I mean, Oracle's been doing this for 20, 30 years,
Absolutely.
So many other vendors, like you were talking about purchasing on Amazon,
Right.
These guys have done it and done it very well and very easily. I think they reinvented the wheel for only God knows why they did it that way instead of working with a company that's well-versed in this. And all this is a database, right?
Right.
So they could have worked with companies like Oracle, like with whatever back-end services Amazon's doing, and done it right with the right security already in place that's been tested and proven, so somebody really, I think, like was said earlier, it was Michelle Obama's buddy that maybe they just passed on the business to. And I think the same company did the VA's website, right, which we all know it doesn't work that great to begin with. So why use a company that didn't do a great job the first time around is beyond me.
They're cheap.
Here's the thing, and let me just throw this into the whole mix. To go back to the Tiananmen Square thing, where Oracle and all these companies just hoard themselves out. Sure, China will do whatever you want to get the business. But we have accepted, and I've never understood this, and Rob would be much better to explain it, but substandard ISP, the website didn't work. Who are the people that advertised on the Super Bowl for a job hunt service? And
Monster.
Yes. Monster Jobs.
They got eliminated in 5 minutes. They crashed.
Yeah.
Because nobody really gauged the response. We have become so accustomed to, and I think this not only applies to the website, it's a lot of things on a lot of different levels. We have become accustomed to standards that are just substandard, that we'll buy off and say, well, it was their first try. There is no quality control anymore. I mean, they'll send products out. If it breaks, then tell them. They'll send you a new one. We're not in the diagnosis business anymore. We're in the replace the module business. So it's endemic. It's and embarrassing as hell, and has all kinds of issues. That on something as important to this, you glitch on the computer side. But again, I think we have lowered our standards across the board. And I know that there are many individuals on the other side that are cutting code and are doing the work, that are doing really good work.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think
that's a great point, because globally, how does this look to the rest of the world that we used to be the superpower in every fashion of technology, and we can't even do a website coming from the White House. So even globally, this is going to affect us business-wise.
Well, I think we're even... I think the NSA hurts us a lot more than this website, because that's just, unless it's government. Everybody realizes government does bad decisions. If they used Squarespace, they would have never had this issue. But I think the NSA has a bigger problem.
See, but I think at the end of the day, everybody spies on everybody. We just got caught.
Yeah, yeah. And as we had talked so many shows ago, this was really not a surprise. But
the biggest thing, though,
ICANN's
trying to remove itself from U.S. control. I mean,
there's a lot of rumors of that.
Well, they're in process apparently of actually doing it, which is is crazy. So the domain controllers and some of the other parts are saying, we're done. You in the United States has kind of burned the bridge with us. And ICANN's not a government
because
agency.
We controlled domain names for so long, and we certainly didn't do a good job of it.
Well, we're doing a better job now.
Well, I think what it is I think we burned the bridge by the NSA because we upheld ourselves in the Bush administration and the Obama administration. We'd go after people who are hacking, and we hold ourselves as this guide and shining light in the media. And then we get caught with our hand in the cookie jar. Everybody's saying, well, they're obviously guilty because we held ourselves to a higher standard and we failed that standard.
You can criticize, and I talked about this last week. You can go back to Gary Francis Powers. You can go back to World War II. We have been spying. Why? What was the key to defeating the Germans? And that's having the Enigma code box that could read their code. Why were we successful in the Pacific? Because they used Navajo, and the Japanese had no basis in understanding the Navajo or Native American language. We have been eavesdropping. We have been. My own cousin was military intelligence in the '60s in Germany, and we have been. Hold on a second.
Okay, well, hey, Dan, I'm going to give you another, just a follow-up. Do you have anything else you want to add, or?
No, I'm good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for watching, Dan. I really appreciate it. Thanks for calling in and being part of the show.
I want to say, John stepped out for a second, that I think the issue is the United States said we were above reproach. And that we declared this high and mighty position. And then when we got caught, I think that's...
Hey, Dan, I'm going to say thanks again. Thanks for calling. We'll see if we get somebody else to call in now. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. I think that's the issue I think a lot of the world is having is because we put ourselves above reproach, and then when they found out we're as bad as everybody else, I think that hurt our reputation a little bit. I really do.
We were the archetype of how to spy. We always have been.
Well, yeah, but it's not like everybody in the world knew it. Of course, governments knew it, but it's not like everybody else knew it. I mean, this was.
I knew it.
Hey, anybody else want to call in? 530-621-1210. Let's jump in. Thank you, Dan, for your call. Any other opinions on this? Why we still on this beating this dead horse of a website?
Well, I think it was the subject to black hats and tinfoil hats, the neckbeards saying, "Oh, this what's happening," and everybody was dismissing it. It went from that to everybody going, "Wow, Orwell was right." So I think that's the issue. Is that what's ended up happening? It was happening, but everybody thought, "Oh, the government's not doing it."
They
I think that's the
certainly
issue.
knew the government was doing it in Britain.
Well, yeah. Well.
Okay,
so we were talking about the ticket, the car that'll write you a ticket. In Australia, they've got cameras all over the freeways, and they send you a ticket. You were speeding.
Yeah.
Yes, but how many recording phone conversations you had with your girlfriend in 2 weeks, knock on your door and said, "Yeah, we heard you doing this." The NSA has the ability and has been doing this.
So we beat up on the NSA every week. We know what they're listening to everything. So what's new? Let's move along. I don't want to talk NSA anymore.
Well, I got a story then.
All right.
The two San Francisco supervisors are proposing two separate measures that would add a 2% tax on soft drinks or any drink with high sugar.
That's like the woman in Utah that's sending a letter home. If she decides that her eye says that your kid is moderately obese, she'll give him a letter and say you shouldn't eat sugar for Halloween. I mean, again, is it any different than the internet tax? Here's another opportunity to tax a service or something that we're getting for, and the problem of it is, again, I think we've got government that thinks it's business. They're looking at it for profit. Maybe it's sequester money. Are they that broke? But they're looking for every income opportunity they can maximize on any level at any point.
I'll be honest. I think this is more social engineering versus what you're saying, because they're saying, this is the VAT tax. Help McDonald's is bad for you, so we're going to make it more expensive. Soft drinks, cigarettes. I think that's what it is. I think it's social engineering to stop people from doing things that they disagree with.
You know what's scary about what you
don't know
just
if I'd
said?
go that-
I think
I
about
see money as a
Bloomberg
root
in
of
New
all
York,
evil.
and in the 24-ounce drink that Bloomberg says now in New York you can't have because it's bad for you. And let's add layer upon layer upon layer of government intrusion into your life and everything. You can't drink 24-ounce sodas. Your kid is overweight, so we're going to tax you because you're feeding them the wrong food. So that's going to be a punishment tax.
See, isn't that social
you're going to
engineering,
get-
though?
Isn't
Wouldn't that
that
be-
social
I
engineering?
actually, so to some extent, it's a lack. It's just lack of, as we've said 1,000 times, family, and somebody going, I don't know about you, Rob, but when I was a kid, there were not soft drinks in the refrigerator.
No.
And it was a treat.
Yeah.
If you got,
Yeah, it was a whole different time. You're right. There wasn't.
Hamburger.
But there was always a cup of coffee.
Or they'd make
In my
coffee.
family,
Hey, you want some
there was a
I'll
coffee
make some
pot going
coffee.
24/7.
But this is a major. But this is an age difference. I mean, this is from you guys who grew up in the
Yeah,
50s to 60s
yeah.
to nowadays. So I think. I don't know. Well, granted, having a soft drink and this and that all the time in McDonald's is not healthy for you, but it comes down to it's my decision, isn't it? I mean, on the other hand,
Yeah, and I don't agree with Bloomberg saying you can't have a Coke bigger than this. Screw you! I'm gonna have as big a Coke as I want.
on the other thing, there is a social
But, I mean,
cost.
that is the American way. We can indulge, we can overindulge, we can. You have a choice. When somebody says no, you can't buy a Coke bigger than this because you don't need it.
On the other
Maybe I
side,
do need it. Maybe I'm killing myself, quietly with sugar.
on the other
but
side,
that's your right to do that,
on the
and
other
that's
side,
the point.
there's a social cost though. They say
There's
they
a social cost.
they say the social cost being there's the higher rate of obesity. People have to go to the hospital using services they wouldn't have used as much 20 years ago.
And now
so
that we have the government in our medical history lives, they will
Hey,
turn
don't
us
you
and control
remember
everything.
4 months ago, we talked about them officially declaring stage 2 diabetes a disease, so
Right.
it could have a drug and it could be classified.
Right.
This is, and boys, and I mean this with no detriment, I think this is part of this. We have to reanalyze databases in general. It's just become the way to do it. We can accumulate all this information. We can know all these things about you. We can, and you know what it's doing? They're planning based on all of this information rather than letting free creativity and people coming up with an idea. All right, they are marketing the products you're going to buy 6 months from now based on your responses to those captured websites and those places that your
True.
information goes to.
Right.
Rather than some goofy guy sitting in his house going, if I make a hoop out of plastic and you can put it around your waist and wiggle, I wonder how many people would buy that.
God, if they're going to go through my web history, they're going to be thoroughly confused.
Well, I think it's just the point. It has become so intrusive into our lives.
Dehumanizing.
I'm sorry, John. What was that?
It's dehumanizing.
Yes, yeah. I'm having a tough enough time with life as it is, and then you start looking at the intrusion into every aspect of what you do. It just gets downright frightening at a certain point.
The craziest thing is when you talk to people.
Go ahead, John.
See, the craziest thing when you talk to people, like, for example, I've read people's comments from London and some from Australia. Well, some have a problem with it. The majority of people go, we don't need guns. It's safer that we have cameras everywhere. Of course, the government knows what they're doing. And reading from that to the American point of view, growing up, the American point of view is the government's good. But there's a healthy. I really do think it's inbred into the American culture that don't trust the government. The government goes so far, and you hear these other countries going, you can trust them, they're fine. And next thing you know, they're marching in camps. So I think it's weird how the
Who's
American
marching in camps, Jonathan?
Well, I'm being a little facetious, but it comes down to the American
Chinese?
the American spirit more or less comes down to one thing. Is the healthy distrust of the government and people in power in general. That's why We want that. That's one of the reasons we want transparency in government. That's one of the reasons when we hear, say, when the Clinton scandal happened, that's when people going, well, why did this happen? That's why people want as much information possible, is because we want to know if the government's screwing us, which they are.
So you're taking the other point. So your argument is that it's a good thing to take all this information?
No, what I'm saying.
That's what it sounded like.
No, what I'm saying is bred into the American culture is an extreme distrust of people in power. Is coming from, even if you voted for the guy, what is he doing that's going to hurt me? That's that. I think, unlike anywhere else in the world, I think that's bred into the American culture.
Aren't we making a decision ideologically on which guy is going to hurt my ideals or my ideology the least?
Yeah, you're voting of two evils
Not who's going to do the most for me, who's offering a program to rebuild bridges and infrastructure of America that we've discussed needs to be done. It's, these people want to make you have socialized medicine. And
you see, that proves my point.
The horse has been beat so far to death, it's empty of blood.
Okay, so hey guys, we are down to 5 seconds to wrap this show up for 1 hour, so I want to end it. I think we have actually a lot more fodder for next week. I want to get into a couple of things about the high school that banned the NRA T-shirt. I thought that was kind of interesting, and the backpedaling on that. And I think we're still going to be talking about the Affordable Care Act. That's going to go on forever. There's a lot of stuff that we got. And
Dan, thanks for calling.
Yeah, and again, Dan, thank you very much for being about the show. And all of those out there, please help us. A little bit of a donation would help just tremendously to keep this going. If you like it, we want you to be part of it. And I want to thank Jonathan. You got something you want us to wrap it up, or?
Yeah, I'll say make sure you check out Real Flicks Reviews on the THEOGT.tv.
Okay, and thank you guys for watching Old Guy Tech TV Opinion versus Opinion. This is Rob Chardy for the rest of us here. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.